Hello, and welcome to this APQC webinar on KM for a Sustainable Future. My name is Lynda Braksiek, and I'm the Principal Research Lead for Knowledge Management here at APQC. I'm going to be your guide today as we talk about trends in sustainability, the KM and the sustainability connection, and then a look ahead at the future of the knowledge management discipline. So let's get started and talk about some definitions around sustainability and also some research and trends. So what is sustainability? Well, APQC defines sustainability as the capacity to endure. And the primary components of sustainability include environmental practices, those things that protect natural resources, people practices, ensuring the workforce now and in the future are kept safe. Social practices, promoting community development and human rights for people beyond the organization. Government, management, and financial practices. Those are the activities that promote ethical operations and long-term organizational health. Now, there's a couple of other types of sustainability you might be thinking about or have heard about. One is technical sustainability. This is the development and use of technologies in a way that considers the long-term impact on the environment, society, and economy of that technology. So creating and implementing technologies that are efficient, reduce waste, and minimize negative environmental impacts throughout their life cycle. I've also heard the term human sustainability, which also focuses on maintaining and improving the well-being of people in general. Things like health, education, and skill development to ensure that our individuals and communities can thrive both now and in the future. So why should we focus on sustainability? The three drivers for sustainability include things like meeting customer expectations. Perhaps your customers or suppliers require it. Also, employee health, safety, and well-being. So focusing on the engagement of your employees and making them feel comfortable coming to work every day. And also aligning them to your corporate values. It shows that you care about not only your organization, but the people, the results, and also the community around you. The top three benefits are really to improve your brand image, really support those overall organizational values, and again, really focus on that improvement of employee engagement and satisfaction. And some of the common stakeholders for your sustainability efforts include not just employees, but perhaps board of directors or environmental or social rights associates, suppliers, regulatory bodies. What about your local community and shareholders or your customers and universities that you support and partner with? So here's some examples of what most organizations are doing as it relates to sustainability today. So we have about 1/4 that we report in our research that are more than 10 years old with their sustainability programs. About 1/3 of the people are in that 1 to 5 year range, and there's only 5% that really are just getting started with their sustainability efforts. And as far as who owns sustainability within the organization, about a third, a little over 1/3 actually have a sustainability function or department identified inside the organization. The rest are putting in place things like steering committees or a corporate responsibility office, or perhaps it even resides in one of the other functional areas like environmental safety and health, human resources, or corporate strategy. So here's a look at some of the key initiatives from an environmental, social, and governance perspective. I'm just going to mention a couple from each area, and this again is based on our research that we do at APQC. In the environmental space, we see a lot focused on reducing the organization's carbon footprint and e-waste, things you've probably heard before. Also looking at auditing current business partners to ensure that they meet the sustainability standards within the organization as well. From the social side, we see organizations focused primarily on things like providing opportunities for employees to engage in community programs or increasing the participation of sustainability practices in your local community. In the area of governance, we see more than a third still focused on developing that diversity, equity, and inclusion capability. While that is continuing to change as time goes on, there's still a lot of focus in this area. Also, we see companies focused on creating workplace health and safety programs, in addition to that, building that transparency around all of their sustainability efforts. So maybe think about what are some of those current sustainability challenges for you within your organization. Now that we've level set on sustainability, let's spend a little time talking about the connection between KM or knowledge management and sustainability. So again, we're going to start with a little bit of definition to make sure we're all talking about the same thing. So knowledge management defined by APQC is the application of a structured process to help information and knowledge flow to the right people at the right time so they can act more efficiently and effectively to find, understand, share, and use knowledge to create value. And that's a very long way of saying we're connecting people to people and people to content. This is what knowledge management does. Now, what it is looking at the most critical knowledge in the organization, making sure that we're codifying, curating, and providing access for employees, again, to the most critical knowledge. We're also enabling business relevant collaboration, learning, and innovation. And the key word here is also relevant. Let's make sure that what we're doing is aligned to our key business initiatives. KM also helps with integrating people, processes, and technology approaches to ensure that we're working the best that we can in the most efficient manner that we can. And also, a way to empower people. Knowledge management is a way to empower people by providing more complete and equitable access to information. Now, what KM is not, it's important to remember that we're not in the habit of trying to solve all knowledge problems at the same time. Again, focus on what's most critical and relevant to your organization at that time. And it's not the non-work related chatter or distraction in the organization either. It's work related, process related, technology related knowledge that we need to advance the competitiveness and the longevity of our organization. It's also not simply just a technology or a tool or a suite of tools. It's about the people, the process, the tools, and the technology. And it's not about eliminating roles. It's about taking the knowledge from people and helping them to work more efficiently and effectively so that we can become more innovative in what we do. Looking at the common objectives of knowledge management. According to APQC's knowledge flow process, transfer can happen at any time throughout any of the steps within this process, in the creation, the identification, or in the sharing or the accessing process. But value doesn't really happen until that knowledge has been used by someone else in the same or new capacity. And KM is really that capability that helps knowledge flow. It helps by managing the processes, the systems, the approaches, and the supporting resources. It takes a partnership between the people in the organization and KM to make this cycle work. And although transfer isn't explicitly listed as a step in the knowledge flow process, it naturally occurs as knowledge moves through the various stages. For example, knowledge transfer seems simple in concept, right? Just go do it. But it's difficult in execution. The failure point for most of us is not looking at knowledge transfer through the lens of continuous improvement or learning. It's hard to define a person's teachable moment, that time when we really need to know something in the moment to move on with our jobs and not be disrupted. So we tend to let go and assume it's happening by relying on tracking data such as the number of participants or the number of views or the number of documents downloaded. The bottom line is, the focus needs to be intentional when it comes to transferring knowledge. It will require a number of approaches that are systematic, things like knowledge elicitation and capture, and organic, presentations from experts or community of practice conversations and discussions. And we then need to determine how technologies like AI or generative AI can help us automate and surface this knowledge to workers more effectively. So what does this look like a little bit in practice? We talk about putting knowledge where people will trip over it. Essentially, our goal and our foundational principles of KM is to put it where they can find it in the flow of their daily work. So, how do you do this? You embed knowledge capture, sharing, and reuse into how people work. Your project management methodology needs to include explicit steps to review lessons learned on the front end and capture them throughout as key milestones occur. Your innovation processes need to incorporate collaboration. If a manager is having a meeting, for example, maybe they ask at the end if anything discussed needs to be captured in the knowledge management or other system. If you have people working in applications, resources need to be built into their digital workflow so they can access knowledge as they work in the moment. And in some cases, you may want to recommend knowledge or use knowledge to direct that workflow. The other piece that's really important here is to have KM built into people's roles or their jobs. What that might mean is calling out knowledge transfer as part of your official subject matter expert role, or building community management into your process owner's role. And it definitely means incorporating desired KM behaviors into performance management and make effective sharing and reuse criteria for promotions in certain or key areas. So it's not enough to know stuff and to just do your job well. You also need to be sharing that knowledge and mentoring others so they can get to our level. Sometimes this can get formally incorporated into performance measures, which is really great, but it can also be implicit. If managers start asking the right questions in performance conversations, and people see that being a community of practice manager or leader is a good career move, for example, it makes a big difference in the cultural attitudes toward knowledge management. And employees are very good at picking up on those signals. So now that we've talked about knowledge management and sustainability, how can knowledge management actually support sustainability? It's really by enabling organizations to effectively create, share, and utilize knowledge to achieve long-term environmental, social, and economic goals. So essentially, and very simply stated, it's keep doing good knowledge management. Knowledge management doesn't change for sustainability. It just means we need to apply it and understand what the goal is around sustainability and help our organization achieve those goals. Case in point, by integrating knowledge management practices, organizations can not only improve their sustainability performance, but they can also gain a competitive advantage in the global market. So many companies are challenged due to the required reporting by the government, by the board, by stakeholders, you name it. And no one global body has standardized what to report. For example, in the area of social alone, 60 different metrics are being reported on, and organizations are overwhelmed. So what can KM do to help these efforts? Here's some of the areas that KM practitioners excel at and could help contribute to advancing the sustainability initiatives within their organizations. Things like enhancing organizational learning, promote continuous learning and improvement, help organizations adapt to changing environmental and market conditions through learning opportunities. Keep fostering that culture of innovation, which is something KM already does very well. Encourage the development and implementation of green technologies or sustainable practices within your organization. Optimize the resources. Optimize the use of your resources, reducing waste and improving efficiency, which is essential for sustainable development. You can also encourage collaboration and knowledge sharing. Again, something we do a lot of in the knowledge management world. Facilitate collaboration and knowledge sharing across different departments and organizations in the area of sustainability. And this can lead to more effective and sustainable solutions. You can provide better access to relevant information and expertise as well, so that organizations can make more informed and strategic decisions that actually align to sustainability goals. So help improve decision making. We can also help with the reporting aspect. As I mentioned before, there's a lot of reporting requirements around ESG. So produce those reports more efficiently and effectively. Knowledge management teams can help with that. Organizations must pull data from various sources across the enterprise, and the greatest challenges involve storing and obtaining data for reporting. Again, something knowledge management teams do anyway by managing the content and the data within their organizations. And finally, adapt and evolve. Help organizations adapt to changes and recover from disruptions. Use those change management skills that are so very important in the knowledge management discipline and help make them more resilient in the face of these environmental and economic challenges. Also, think about how your organization is actually working today and leverage your existing knowledge management culture to help manage those sustainability efforts. So, what are you already doing well? And what new knowledge management approaches might you need to help advance some of these sustainability efforts? So, for example, communities of practice. They're a great communication channel and a forum for sharing best practices. After action reviews and lessons learned, if you have those in place, those are critical to achieving continuous improvement, process improvement, and good content management is another way to ensure information is available to the right people at the right time. And all of this can be part of onboarding processes as well to ensure that new employees who are coming on board are being educated in a way that we need and want them to work in the future. So think about what current knowledge management approaches might you already have that you could consider to help advance your sustainability efforts. Okay, now that we've talked about sustainability and knowledge management and how the two might be able to work together, let's just take a look ahead at some of the future of knowledge management based on some of APQC's priorities and trends research. These are some of the key takeaways from our 2025 priorities and trends research. And you can see that there's a lot of focus on the field in the field of technology today with AI, and it's going to remain urgent and continue to impact those knowledge management priorities and sustainability priorities into the future. Things like data privacy and sustainability are already hitting our radar in the knowledge management discipline because of the impact AI is having on data centers. They're going to be larger, they're going to take more electricity. So, what are we doing to think about those things? Also, change management has been identified as the number one skill set for knowledge management for multiple years in a row. Getting people to work differently and understanding cultures and understanding how to help people through disruptions like AI or like sustainability requirements is something knowledge management can help with. But we're still ramping up our skills in the field of change management, which is really that ability to manage the people side of change in the organization. The other thing is that convergence is happening. And this is driven in part by the artificial intelligence bubble as well. But the convergence I mean is things like data, information, content, knowledge, all working together. And knowledge management is helping to lead that integration with the help of AI as well. So think about how that might actually impact what you're doing in sustainability as well. And how can it help advance your capabilities even more? And finally, let's just talk about traditional knowledge management. Throughout this talk today, I've referenced several KM capabilities and approaches that some of you may already have in place or may be thinking about putting in place. These traditional approaches are going to always remain critical to an organization's ability to transfer critical knowledge within the organization and preserve it for generations to come. So don't forget about maintaining those communities of practice and making sure you've got lessons learned and after action reviews in place and thinking about all the new technologies that can be helping you achieve your goals. So remember those traditional knowledge management approaches and leverage those the best that you can. So to dig a little deeper on the focus of change management, because it has been the number one skill set for knowledge managers to focus on the last few years, let's talk about this briefly. So what's the most challenging in the organization of these components? And these components are based on our research and change management, that these six things really need to be in place in order for you to be effective at managing change. So which one of these is the most challenging for you right now? Is it the structure? Do you even have a structure or resources available to you in order to manage change more effectively? Do you leverage a specific methodology? Do you have a center of excellence with experts that can help you with managing change? Let's look at the role of leadership. Leadership is so critical to change being effective and to being accepted across the organization. It's critical. And how do we help identify how to coach leaders and provide what they need to be successful in leading changes across the organization? So, our role is to help leaders be successful so that they can help and advocate for and encourage the organization to move to a new place in the future. Communications and training are the two we probably know the most about. Having a formal communication plan that's phased, that emphasizes transparency about what's going on is very, very important. Training approaches are moving away from the more traditional classroom format and moving toward the more self-paced, such as videos. We've got on the job or we've got one-on-one coaching and mentoring, and those are increasing in popularity. We've also seen that peers are seen as the most effective facilitators for on-the-job training and coaching because they know and do the same jobs that we do every day. So how do we leverage our peers and experts to ensure that they're encouraging learning as we go forward? Can't all be on the knowledge management team or the IT team or the specific function. Let's leverage those subject matter experts. And we did find out in our research that over half of the organizations we surveyed do leverage peer-led training. Engagement and rewards and recognition. Now, they go a little bit hand in hand. How do you engage people to get involved in something new like sustainability and get them excited about it? But engagement really refers to the emotional connection that an employee is going to feel toward the organization and toward the initiative that you're trying to help them move forward with. So think about how to cultivate this particular emotional connection. What's in it for them? Think about what it means to them in their role, in the location they work in, how they work every day, and their experiences, and the timing and significance of employee engagement, and all the different methods that might be necessary to engage the different types of employees you have. And along with that are rewards. Rewards can be very engaging for people, recognizing people for the good work that they're doing. If we're asking people to do something different, we need to recognize that we've seen that they're doing something different. And organizations will use various methods for rewarding people, including things like putting it in their performance review or making it a part of future promotions. Could even be monetary rewards or some sort of public recognition or award program. And it could be non monetary awards as well. It could be a handwritten thank you note for the work that they're doing. So just keep in mind how important the change aspect of this is. Sustainability is a newer thing to think about at work, and it's impacting all of our organizations. So how can we help people move through that process with the least amount of disruption? So I want to talk to you about your KM top 10 list. So if you can think about the things that knowledge management can do to help you with your sustainability efforts, think about these things. Understand your organization's culture and how you can help them shift to a new way of working and understand how important sustainability might be to their organization. Make sure you're leveraging those partners and the champions who really get this and leveraging them for moving the initiative forward. And learn to speak the language of the business as well. Using new catchphrases and using new terminology can be challenging sometimes. So speak in the language of the audience that you're working with. Embrace that power of storytelling. Tell those stories of what it means to them and tell those stories of success from other organizations to help them understand. We talked about this, leveraging existing capabilities, talked about this as well. Take new practices and embed them into the flow of your work and learn from those failures and then celebrate that success when you've had success. We have to continually measure and show value, so we need to do that along with developing effective change management skills. And we say focus on stickiness because this is the way that we at APQC like to think about making something stick. Knowledge is sticky, and when you can move it through the organization in an effective manner, it's going to stick. And use those change management capabilities to really, really focus on helping something new stick within the organization and make it become part of the DNA. And finally, we say, don't forget to leverage your APQC resources. We have a lot of information out there available to you on all the topics that I talked about today. So feel free to jump out to apqc.org and deep dive a little bit more into some of those areas. You can unlock your sustainability value if you partner with knowledge management. And sustainability is a new way of thinking. It's about changing behaviors and our culture. KM is also a cultural thing, and it's how we help knowledge flow and preserve it for the future of our organizations. So, by leveraging your knowledge management capabilities and applying them to your sustainability goals, you can accelerate the journey for your organization. It's not just about going fast and getting to the right place, it's about the experience, it's about the journey. Thank you so much for joining me today. Feel free to connect with APQC in any of the forums that you see listed here. And we hope to see you again in the future at an event, a training session, or perhaps on social. Thank you so much. Have a great day.